I was having a smoking session with my chef.
Smoking meats or like smoking as in a cigarette?
Cigarette lah.
Oh, okay.
No, we weren't smoking duck.
Okay,
We
yeah.
were smoking cigarettes. Then suddenly it came into my mind, why don't people do a duck pizza?
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us on yet another episode of Help Desk. I'm Drew. I am joined once again by Pris.
Hi guys.
And we today are joined on the episode by Timbre founder Danny Loong. I think it was a pretty insightful conversation about entrepreneurship, his journey into why he started Timbre. And then we, hit some questions from you guys, so you can look forward to that. Okay, Pris, dial up the episode. Okay, Danny, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate you coming down.
I love it, man. I'm in the Mothership HQ, man.
Nice. And can I say that was like maybe the most professional mic test that we just did with you?
Oh yeah.
Normally I have to prompt them to get them to say, I ask them what they've had for breakfast or something like that, but you were just straight to it, what to say.
And then the mic test with a very soft voice for some reason, and then they start talking loud, and then sound guys will be like, what?
Then they have to adjust. Man. So you know the troubles that sound people...
Yes, I've done actually. I was going to talk about that later, but I did sound in the first Timbre.
Okay.
We had not much staff, and I had to get behind the bar and also do sound.
Yeah.
When we first started, 2005. So I've learned it, man. And I was based in Perth for 5 years as.
And you did sound there as well.
I did. No, I did. I was just touring as a band.
Oh wow.
Then in Australia, you got to do everything.
Yeah. Fair enough. You know, I don't know about you guys, but for me, every time I have to do a mic test, I have to fight the urge to say testicles 1, 2, 3.
Testicles.
Testicles 1, 2.
That's
3.
oddly specific.
No, it's actually an industry joke.
Oh really?
Yeah, testicle.
Oh.
Then everybody's like, what?
Yeah.
You know.
Now you know,
But
Chris.
Okay, now I know.
It's a joke.
Wait, are you being for it?
Really?
Really?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't actually know if it's an industry joke, but it's a joke to me.
Okay. Funny joke. Haha.
It's a guy
it's a guy
musician type thing, which is a bit rude, but
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't know. I'm sorry to expose
I'll
you.
stick to testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Let's keep it
by the way, my just say this is wonderful, this is beautiful.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that you are a Liverpool fan. I didn't bring this out just for you. I mean, it's always there. But, it's nice to have someone once in a while appreciate the set and the effort that goes into, bringing the
Well,
class
better check
on
whether
the
there's
set.
any menu. Okay, there's no.
No, of course not. Not on my set. Yeah, I think what we really want to hear about you from on this podcast, before we get to the advice stuff that our audience has submitted, is your story starting Timbre, being a young person who's I gather obsessed with music, and then I guess turning it into a part of the work that you do now in your professional life. So I mean, maybe we should start at the beginning. How did you get into music as a young person?
Basically, I was pretty much a loner in school.
Okay. No friends?
What?
What school did you go to?
I went to Bedok View Secondary.
Okay.
I mean, but a loner in the sense that I always loved music for some. I mean, I always got very attracted to music because I think when in those days, when you're feeling down, you're feeling happy, music was my go-to lah. I wasn't playing music then, but it always ends up with my Walkman. I mean,
What
for
kind
the
of song?
younger viewers, Walkman is a cassette tape player.
Do you know what Walkman?
No, I've heard of a Walkman.
Okay.
I've never seen it in real life, but yeah.
You've never?
I've never
It's the
seen
most
a
wonderful
Walkman.
thing.
Did you have
Aw.
Are you young? Are you so young that you don't have a disc?
No.
Discman?
I-
Is that what they call them?
This one lah.
There would
Yeah,
be, was it a Discman? Yeah, but no, last time I would watch DVDs, but it's a circular thing,
okay.
but no Walkman.
Okay.
Wow, no Discman.
Good for you.
Oh,
Okay, what kind of music are you
Nowadays you
talking
don't need
about?
any of that. But I mean, I used to listen to music going to school. I used to listen to U2 and
Okay.
I mean my era lah. U2 and a lot of that Britpop. But my father found a guitar in the storeroom when I was about 16.
Okay.
It was a very very old Yamaha classical guitar,
wow.
and said, "Hey, why don't you just see what you can do with this?"
Yeah.
Actually, that was really the one that really got me lah. And
Okay.
I remember the World Cup. I can't remember what year. It was 1990s
Okay.
World Cup. That reveals my age. But there was two guys on the piano.
Yeah.
Two African American guys playing the boogie woogie blues piano.
At the football World
During the intermit, there's a
Okay.
music
Oh, yeah.
interlude.
Cup,
Okay.
in
In those
halftime
days,
show or something.
yeah, there was some music thing, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays you have commentary and everything, but those days there was something about
segment for
music for
music.
about 15 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, it was early in the morning, I remembered, and I was like, what is this music? It was basically the blues, and I still remembered I started collecting vinyls also.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and I went to the
Back
store.
then, it wasn't a hipster thing. Or was
It
still
was
a hipster
popular,
thing?
but it wasn't hipster.
Okay.
Okay.
It was popular with
Yeah.
with that generation because those days CD wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So
it's either
vinyls and
cassette or
cassettes.
vinyl. Yeah. Okay.
That's right. So started listening to the music, learned guitar in church, basic guitars.
Yeah.
And the good thing about learning in church is they can't say no to you, see.
Oh, okay.
You
Because
see,
they
when I'm
need
they
guitar
have to teach
Yeah,
you,
players.
you see.
Yeah.
It's their duty. So I had free lessons there, and then of course I discovered the Beatles. And then the turning point was when I first heard Eric Clapton.
Okay.
And he was playing a very old school blues number.
Yes.
The same one that actually John Mayer and a lot of the young players do play also. And that really hit me. So I was into piano.
Okay.
I studied classical. I didn't like it.
Okay.
And I stopped. But this one was more listening and more self-taught. And for guitar, it's the same. Because nobody really into the blues. I found myself a guitar teacher for a while. His name is Bees
Yeah.
from Yamaha.
It's like a pretty famous guitar tech, right?
Yeah, you know Bees, right?
He had like a shop, or so, like I said, like looking for bees. Or
Yeah,
something,
looking
like
for
a-
bees. Yeah, so bees taught me for about maybe 6 months.
Okay.
And it's so interesting. I had to learn outside his house in a HDB walkway. Not void deck, but the walkway.
Yeah.
And
common corridor.
small M, and then we were learning. But anyway, long story short, I was really inspired by the music. Then of course I discovered rock and roll, and then the Beatles and the Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
and then I went back further to the 1930s and 40s
Yeah.
African American artists like Robert Johnson.
Okay.
And then of course
Muddy
B.B. King, Muddy Waters.
Yeah.
B.B. King was a big one.
Yeah.
And I saw B.B. King, and I got to meet B.B. King
Whoa.
in 1992. And I had an old Yamaha guitar. I got him
Yes.
to sign. I don't want to tell the story, but it's actually a funny story. But long and short.
You don't want to tell the story, but
Sure.
it's a funny story. No, you have to tell the story
Okay,
now.
so basically, I had my guitar with my dad.
Yes.
Came with me, and I was at the Meridian Orchard Hotel.
Okay.
How I found out is that the poster used to have the hotel.
Okay.
So I went there at about 2 o'clock. I just went there I just went there to say maybe he will have a coffee in a cafe.
Yes.
I don't know. I was very
Yeah.
naive. I was sitting down there waiting for this B.B. King to appear, right? And then a very nice Malay gentleman, I think he was one of the concierge or the bellhop, came and said, "Hey, bro, what are you doing with the guitar?" So I'm waiting for B.B. King. "Oh yeah, B.B. King's here. I think he's sleeping." So I actually was crazy enough. I went up to like a stalker. I went up to see maybe he walk out of the door. I can catch him.
Yeah.
I know. I was very young. I was very young.
They
I
just
went-
let you go up?
Yeah.
Huh?
They didn't stop you from going up to
No,
his
because
floor?
those days there's no pass and all.
Okay.
I mean, this is really long ago. And then I went back downstairs a bit dejected. My father had to go and waited for about 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
And then the manager of B.B. King walked in.
Okay.
Floyd Lieberman, I remember him. He gave me
Okay.
his card. And the same Malay gentleman told him and said, "Hey, sir, this guy came all the way from Hong Kong to see B.B. King." Then I'm not okay. Yeah. I didn't say anything
Yeah.
because he was really trying to help me.
Help. Yeah.
And then the manager was carrying Gucci bag or was looking at me and said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, I want to see BB King." And said, "Okay, I tell you what, BB is taking a nap. He'll wake up at 6 o'clock,
Okay.
and I'll make sure that he'll meet you."
Wow.
Wow.
And he walked down. He had his Coke, and we met. We talked for about 15-20 minutes, and I met him actually 3 times in my lifetime.
Okay. Did you
But-
remember that incident? No.
I gave him a picture of it.
Okay.
And he told his manager to put it, and I don't know whether he printed it in his book or what. But that was life changing because that night I went to see him play,
Yes.
and that is the night I decided I was going to be a musician.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
Just a class act, man. Just
Yeah.
a class act, BB King,
Yeah.
and watching it live, it's very different. Like you're listening to Spotify and all those things, right? It's very different when you listen to that kind of music live.
Yes.
You
okay.
know, whether it's even hip hop or even if it's John Legend, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But when you watch them live, it's the energy, man. it's the energy, and it was very inspiring.
Really hits you in the feels.
Really hit me, and I met him another 2 more times. One at Tower Records, and then I met him when I was actually playing my band at Byron Bay.
Okay.
He was also playing on the same bill.
So did he see your band?
Yeah,
play?
I said hi. I said with love from Singapore.
Yeah.
You know, he was probably more interested in my girlfriend then, lah. but he heard me, lah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Very nice.
he acknowledged it. And he was already in a wheelchair, and I believe about a year after that he passed away. So I got to shake his hand one last time. But you know, it's inspiration like that, and also local musicians, not just people like BB King. I mean, I grew up jamming in the bars and meeting a lot of these young, the uncle musicians who gave me a hard time actually. But I really appreciate it. You know,
Part time in what sense?
in the old days when you play music, when the lao xiao, the veterans would say things like, yeah, you don't know anything about blues lah. Look at you, young punk, you know, that kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
you got to pay your dues. You know, it's the same lah. I mean,
Okay.
you know, a bit of an uncle voice telling you, girl, you know, come on, man, you do better. You know, so but it helped me. It
Okay.
really did. You know, it made me try even harder, and in some ways. I won't say it's negativity, but it's kind of like their real talk. Makes me even okay, I'm gonna show you.
I'm gonna
show
prove you
what I-
wrong. Kind of.
I'm gonna show you what I am. But I still respected them. They're
Yeah.
all very kind to either give me tough love or kindness. So both sides.
Very
So I had some local heroes too. Farid Ali was one of them. The late Farid Ali. He was one of the top musicians. Came back from Berkeley. Also, I was working as a waiter. 18 years old, I was working as a waiter, and I wasn't focused on my job. I got scolded all the time, but I was watching him play. But long and short of it, I think inspiration, role models, whether it's BB King or whether it's Farid, you need that.
Yeah.
You need that to kind of spur you on, and I then became a full-time musician after my studies in Murdoch University.
In Perth. Can I stop you there for a
Okay, sure.
second?
So I say it's a long story.
No, that was great. But Pris, I mean, Danny named a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin, BB King, Eric Clapton, Robert Johnson. How many of these people are familiar to you?
The first time I heard about Led Zeppelin was because of a H&M shirt. Like it was like just printed on a H&M shirt.
You thought the shirt was cool?
And it looked
I mean,
cool.
it is
Yeah,
cool.
so then I bought it and I was like, okay, but like I didn't know Led Zeppelin was a band.
Yeah.
Right? So like I wore it out, and then after that my friends were like, do you even know who Led Zeppelin is? I'm like, no. And then after that, like I Googled, and then wow, okay, they're like actually like an established band. So
Yeah, one
and-
of the most established.
one of the most established bands. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I need to know like what shirts I'm buying, like what's on them. Yeah.
So you discover a
alright.
lot of these bands through band t-shirts?
Yeah, band t-shirts. I mean, like I think people now are like using. I mean, like the vintage thing is back, right?
Oh,
so
yes,
like
yeah.
It's coming back.
band shirts and like So I mean, I found it cool that like I guess people now, at least for me, like there are people that really tribute back to like the olden like bands and I guess getting inspiration from that also. Yeah.
Yeah. I got to ask, so you mentioned that you became a full-time musician. You went to university in Perth, and as I understand it, you studied film there. That's correct, right?
Yeah, I'm a media guy actually.
Yes, okay.
I did short films actually. Yeah.
What was that like with your parents? I mean, like music and film, not exactly the two. It's the antithesis of like doctor, lawyer.
Absolutely.
Parent
I
dream.
mean, absolutely. During Chinese New Year, when my mom brings me around, I always remember, because my relatives kind of know that I'm a full-time musician.
Okay.
So
Did you have
they
long
were-
hair?
Uh,
Was it
somewhat
still
long,
back
but
then?
not that long.
Okay.
Not as long as yours, but
No,
slightly
okay.
shorter.
I see.
And they will always tell my mom, "Hey, your son's still playing music." And it's always with that kind of like, "Are you so sad?
Oh, that
Poor
pity.
thing like you, your son playing music, play band
Yeah.
boy." So yeah, I had a lot of that growing up. I had a lot of that. So I say I'm a bit of a loner
Yeah.
because who would understand a young Singaporean Chinese boy
Yeah.
liking blues?
Yeah.
Most of them would be listening to whatever was popular then. And those days there were boy bands, like I don't know, this is even before like the One Direction and all. This is like, the British pop was very big,
Yeah.
Erasure, Depeche Mode, things like that. But I was the one that really went deep into not just blues, funk, soul, I was
Okay.
into James Brown. I was
Yeah.
into Stevie Wonder, and
Yeah.
it kind of feel like nobody else really understood me. But
Yeah.
but
This is
my
music typically associated with like African American
very
culture.
much so, I'll explain a bit why I got really. I never really gave up on music.
Okay.
There was a reason why. But coming back to what you were asking about my parents, my father, I think deep down wanted to be a rocker.
Okay.
Okay.
So when he used to have a Morris Minor, the old is an old car. It looks like the Beetle. It's called a Morris Minor.
Yeah.
And he used to drive around, and he used to have 4 cassette tapes: Beatles, CCR,
Okay.
Bonnie M, and ABBA.
Yeah.
Okay.
These 4 bands, and he also have the Christmas album as to play during November and December. Bonnie M, or and then he will always play CCR.
Okay.
So my father, I think, secretly wanted to be cool and rocker.
Yeah.
My mother didn't understand anything I was doing, but
Okay.
I think she loved me enough to. I think she prayed a lot also, But at
Very
the end-
Christian family from
very interesting
I've heard
family.
you say.
You're right. You're right. So there was no objection within my family, but there was a lot of objection, or should I say, skepticism and maybe a bit of negativity from the extended family. But I love them and everything. I'm just saying lah. Like you
Yeah.
say, they say my daughter is a translator in Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Wow, or my daughter worked for PwC, or wow,
Yeah.
even finance or in banker. It's always the keywords lah.
Yeah.
Are those, the gold prize would be doctor or lawyer,
Yes.
right? But no, not me. I've always been into films
Yeah.
and into music
Okay.
from the very beginning. Film more in Australia, music definitely from 16 years old.
Okay.
And I'm crazy about it. I cannot not have music, And I guess in a way, I use music in a way to escape,
Okay.
as a way of maybe, like I said, being a loner, having this negativity about me playing music. In a way, the music becomes a place where it's my safe zone,
Yeah.
my safe space, right? And I talk about mental health these days, about finding a safe space. That was my safe space.
Okay.
So I couldn't explain it, but I'm so lucky that I have that safe space.
Very
And
nice.
when I went to Perth, 96, I was there. There was also some, long and short of it, society was changing in Australia too. There was a right-wing politician,
Yeah. Pauline
Hanson.
Hanson. Yeah.
And I actually had a few verbal and physical
Really?
some incidences at Northbridge and also in Fremantle. But that brought me to a higher level because of understanding of the blues.
Okay.
Like they use music as a language to express themselves,
Yes. Yeah.
but also to escape, but also to find people that are like-minded and feel the same way. And soon after that bad experience, I started the Murdoch Blues and Jazz Club.
Okay.
We had one or two Aboriginals. We had mostly white, some Asians.
Yeah.
And they came together to jam. We came together to jam once a week at the hall.
Okay.
And from that experience is actually, I would say, the first idea of Timbre came about.
Okay.
Because I saw how all these people were different. They come from different backgrounds. But they in music, you can actually come together.
Yeah.
And it is one of the most purest universal languages that we have. Poetry is probably one, and there are others also, but music particularly. When we go watch Coldplay, we're all dancing.
Yeah.
There is this platform for us that is, that brings people together.
Yeah.
And actually, that was the seed of the Timbre.
Okay, so I heard on a podcast that you mentioned when you were younger, you kind of knew that your journey would be difficult, like as a kid. So I was wondering, like, what made you want to continue, like, want to pursue music, and like, what's that main drive that you have, even despite like all the challenges that you might have?
So my heroes in music, like whether it's B.B. King, Eric Clapton, if you really look at their lives, especially B.B. King, living in the South, in the days of Jim Crow, the years of discrimination post-slavery.
Yeah.
These guys had a hard life, a very difficult life, right? But when they're on stage, he wears his jacket, he owns it. So isn't it beautiful that outside on the street, there are parts that he can't walk
Right.
and he gets insults and discriminated. But when he's on stage, he's king. So that image to me will always be there. That's why I say 92 when I saw him.
Yeah.
It really rings so powerful for me. Eric Clapton was an orphan. One of the greatest guitar players in this world that gave, influenced people like John Mayer.
Yeah.
Without Eric Clapton and Led Zeppelin and B.B. King, there wouldn't be rock and roll.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses, and people like that, right? So Metallica, even, right? So I think they had a hard life. They had a harder life than I had. But coming from Singapore,
Yeah.
being someone who likes music and wants to do music, obviously it's not easy too. Even in the school system, you don't really have that avenue of pop music, rock music
Yeah.
education at that time. I think it's changing now. We are actually working with MOE on something, but at that time nobody talks about that, right?
Yeah.
It's mostly literature or if it's English, math, science, right?
Yeah.
Focus is that lah. So for me, I don't know lah. I guess maybe I was lucky to have these people that told me that don't give up. If they can do it, why can't you?
Yeah.
But Singapore at that time wasn't so simple for arts and music people.
Yeah.
Still isn't actually.
Yeah.
It's still difficult now. But I think we have to believe that with the opportunities that, for example, Timbre has been around for 20 years, giving opportunities for bands to play at our venues. At the end of the day, the most proudest thing I can say is that when I see a young band on my stage, right, on the Timbre stage, they are bantering with the crowd, they're making a joke, and people are laughing and clapping, and that gives me a lot of encouragement. So actually, the bands that play at Timbre inspire me now, right? Our young people need to see role models too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these young bands that go on stage, whether it's 53A, who's been with us since the beginning,
Yeah.
and Jack and Ray used to play with us also, and we have all these bands that come up, and they are on stage, they're laughing, they're joking, they're very comfortable.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice for a young person, 16 or 17, to see? Wow, actually that's cool.
Yeah.
So I think it's that more. It pushes me to continue Timbre, and that's why Timbre is still doing live music.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about Timbre. You wanted to be a full-time musician.
Yeah.
Today you are, I guess, like more of like known as like an F&B kind of person. Why did you make that switch?
So Timbre used to be more F&B. We're still F&B, but we do more place making now.
Okay.
So Timbre Plus One North,
Yeah.
right? And we have 2 hawker centers, Yishun Park Hawker Center, 1 Punggol Hawker Center. We're opening a new one, Timbre Plus Hillview. That's going to be a new one launched in April.
Okay.
And the Timbre Plus concept, right, is more of a place-making management,
Okay.
event management
Yeah.
project. So rather than opening our own restaurant, we have our tenants, and we will just do events, content,
Yeah.
to attract the footfall. So just a slight sort of additional information about what we do now.
Yeah.
In the past, yes, we do restaurants, bars, but I think we've moved towards more of a place management making kind of a business model. Lah.
Yeah.
And that's actually helped us because it goes back to the roots when we first started with events.
Yeah.
Even
Okay.
prior to Timbre, I was organizing events. I had a blues festival. I was involved with chimes. In the old days, chimes was so popular. We used to have a lot of events there. I used to help them there.
Yeah.
So I kind of marry events, placemaking, F&B, and creating a vibe,
Yeah.
which is very unique to Timbre. Lah.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that the idea for Timbre came from this club that you started at university. But I'm guessing at that time you still just you were thinking of being a full-time musician. Is that
Correct. So I was very lucky that I actually managed to do that first.
okay?
So I was a full-time musician for about maybe 3 years. With my band, we released an
Singapore or
album in
Australia?
Perth.
Okay.
We started in Perth.
Yeah.
My singer had Singaporean mother, and dad is Malaysian. So he eventually moved to Singapore with me. And then we had our first band had 2 Australians. Then when we moved to Singapore, we had 2 more Singaporeans. But we were very unique because me and him were Asians,
Yeah.
right? Leading a band in Perth.
Yeah.
And it's very uncommon. And the most of the time when we play gigs is at the Perth Blues Club or at bikey clubs. So imagine this: I look like a polytechnic student, with my short sleeve shirt and my guitar, walking into a place full of bikers.
Yeah.
And in Australia, the bikers are kind of like, I'm not say gangster lah, but a bit of that type lah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But,
A lot of criminal activity goes through bikie gangs in Australia.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I used to play festivals, and we'll be just the 2 out of the 4 Asians among the 2,000 people there.
Yeah.
But what I want to just say about that is that actually was a wonderful experience for me, because after the performance, the bikers will come to us, the big guys, Harley Davidson guys.
Yeah.
They'll say, "Hey, you," Then we like, talking to me, and they'll come and shake my hand and say, "Thank you so much for the music."
Okay,
Because
wow.
that means
Yeah.
to me that music is so powerful that it actually transcends,
Yeah.
stereotypes and cultures, right?
Yeah.
So that was my 3 years experience. And then when I came back to Singapore, we continued. We were very fortunate as a band. U Blues was the name of the band, Universal Blues Band.
Okay.
And we toured, we played in Memphis. We
Wow.
played in Chicago. We played Padova, Italy. We also played Byron Bay in the east of Australia, and Indonesia, Jakarta many times. So we managed to tour the band for about a year and a half while playing the local clubs.
Okay.
So then we hosted a radio show with 987 at that time. It was called 987.
Yeah.
With Glenn Ong and Rob Montero.
Yeah.
Sing the Blues Mondays. We did that for about 1.5 years. So we were very fortunate that all these opportunities came within 1 and 2 years in Singapore.
Wow.
Hosting the radio show, like I'm so comfortable talking to you, is because I have the training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hosting the radio show, and it's a very unique radio show because people call in to complain about their husband, boss, wife, etc. at the train, and we will just make up a song right there. It's a blues song, so it was a very unique thing. So after that, when Trevor went back to Perth,
That was your singer.
my bandmate went back to Perth, then I started planning for Timbre,
Okay.
and we got the first venue at the Substation.
What made you? I mean, fair to say you're passionate in music. What made you make that switch? Why did you decide I'm not going to do music as you know?
I was inspired by a report called the Renaissance Report. It was released 1990.
Okay.
No, 2000, sorry, 2000.
Yeah.
And it was before the Esplanade came
Okay.
up. And the government wanted to do more arts and build more infrastructure for arts. I was inspired by that actually. That actually the government wants to do more arts, music, theatre.
Yeah.
So in some ways I was attracted to come back to Singapore because of that. NAC was giving some grants, support and stuff like that.
Okay.
And with their support, actually, we toured a lot of the world, but then I started to think, I've organized events, I've done the band thing. Now, wouldn't it be nice to have a home for the Singapore bands?
Okay.
And that's how we actually started. We had the opportunity to open at the Substation, Timbre at the Substation,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and 2005. And those were the days where SMU wasn't even built yet. Were you born then?
I was. I was already born.
So
yeah.
2005, SMU just built.
Yeah.
National Library just tore down.
Yes.
S11 was out. S11 is a hawker, like a coffee shop.
Okay.
Was out by the road, near the road. And then we have this place called the Substation, Timbre at the Substation. And actually, I thank the SMU students because they were the first customers.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
We were empty for about 1-2 weeks. You imagine us sitting down there because it's not prominent. It's
Yeah.
at the back. I don't know if you guys have been there, but
I went to SMU and
Yeah.
I used to go every now and then.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like, but you know what I mean? It's like at the back.
Yeah. It's
You
kind of in
can't
the,
really tell
Yeah.
there's
If
a
you
bar
didn't know
there.
it was there, then you
You have to walk
have a hard time
like
finding
through
it.
the alleyway to it.
Yeah.
But one article on Straits Times turned it around very quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, one article was actually a cover article on Life with Straits Times with my friend Sujin Thomas, who talked about musicians that start bars.
Yeah.
But he was very nice enough to, or should I say, the editors put my face right in front, and that's how we became so crowded. I tell you, it was hard. It was just very quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we started Timbre at the Arts House, and then we started Timbre at Old School. Then we also went to Gilman. We went to East Coast Beach, Timbre
Yeah.
Mobile. We had a mobile concept. I don't think you've been to any of that, but we then eventually we also started Switch, which is like a
Yes.
bilingual.
That was near the NTUC.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we had at one time about 4 or 5 venues. And then 2015 we started Timbre Plus One North,
Yeah.
and that kind of changed our business model towards more of a venue management.
Okay.
Kind of thing lah.
Yeah.
But I think consistently it's all about music. Is music will always be part of the DNA.
Yeah.
From the restaurant to the Timbre Plus food park concept.
Yeah. I remember a period of time when like a lot of what was really popular with my friends and relatives was like the duck pizza.
Yes, that's right.
Timbre.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's the roasted duck pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had like aunts that would go to Timbre not for the music but to eat the roast duck pizza.
Yeah. We're gonna bring back strongly very soon.
Have you had it before?
It's still
No,
we
but I've heard of it.
we
Yeah,
we still have it. You can go to One Pongo
Okay.
hawker center. We have a Timbre pizza store there that has the roasted duck, but we're gonna relaunch it with a new concept very soon. So it's still around and still quite popular, but we want to revitalize it a little.
How did you come up with that?
Actually, I used to. I was having a smoking session with my chef then
Okay.
at the Substation. The
Like smoking meats or like smoking as in a cigarette?
cigarette lah.
Oh, okay. I don't know. When you said chef, then I thought like at first when you said smoking session with, I was thinking like okay.
No, we weren't smoking duck.
Okay,
We
yes.
were smoking cigarettes. But anyway, the bad habit. But I was having, and then suddenly it came into my mind, why don't people do a duck pizza?
Okay.
For my chef. I said, well, duck is not exactly as some, it's not everybody will like duck.
Yeah.
It's not like chicken, right?
Yeah.
But say, I think duck with, then we talk like hoisin sauce
Yeah.
and popiah skin on top. Maybe it will work.
The
It's
spring onion.
it's just out of nowhere one.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then we experimented, and I tell you, we were selling literally thousands of pizzas
Wow.
at one
Yeah.
time. So that sometimes ideas just come, but you have to keep it. Sometimes you just have to refresh it a little bit.
Yeah.
So we intend to do that very soon. We can launch a variety of local sort of concepts for pizza.
What year was that when you started Timbre?
2005.
Okay. Wow.
So this is actually our 20th anniversary this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very
Been around
nice.
for 20 years.
Are you going to do anything special for the 20th anniversary?
Absolutely, we are. We are launching some new concepts. We are launching a new venue, Timbre Plus Hillview.
Yes.
And I'm also involved with certain social campaigns. So we're going to launch that too. So it's quite an exciting year for us this year.
Will we be seeing you perform?
I perform actually quite regularly. I also have a bar called Blackbird at the Gilman Barracks. That's also mine. I'm a co-owner there.
Yep.
I perform once every 2 months there. I have several bands. I have Brown Sugar, which is a soul and funk party band.
Yeah.
I have Unfortunate Sons, which is a CCR band. I'm playing this Saturday.
A CCR tribute band.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Playing this Saturday. I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but yeah, we're playing this Saturday at Timbre Plus One North.
Okay.
And I still play with my main band is Raw Earth. Raw Earth is a regular band that I have.
How do you have the time to do all this stuff?
Oh, I have to make time for music, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Music is my therapy.
Yeah.
So you can't do without therapy.
Yeah.
So when I'm on stage, people say that I go into a trance, so probably so. But it's the safe space that I talked about.
Okay. Your week. So like help us understand how your week works. Because you got to do work, like actual work related stuff with the Timbre Group,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you make time to come on podcasts like this. And then how much time are you like spending
So-
like jamming with your bands and stuff?
So for any entrepreneurs out there,
Yeah.
it's important to have a very strong team. It's very important to have a strong core team, and make sure that you have the systems all in place. So we work very hard to get those done.
Okay.
Core team. I have a great general manager. I have got great heads of department, and they are very clear. I mean, we are very clear of what everybody needs to be done. Everybody needs to do, and communicate that across. So to answer your question, for me, is really building that core team, having my right and left hand, so to speak. By the way, I also have a son who is very young. He's not even 3 years old.
Wow, okay,
So
congrats.
I understand your question. Sometimes I also wonder how, but I think it's really about setting a system lah.
Yeah.
When I'm with my son, I don't want to think about work, right? I spend quality time with him.
Yeah.
when I'm at work, I need to make sure we solve all the problems.
Yeah.
And not just me, right? I can't be just a one-man person.
Yeah.
I'm quite sure Mr. Ho is not a one-man person too. You know, his wife and his great team that
Yeah.
he has.
Yeah.
So really building a team is so important. And everything is now so simple through WhatsApp, you know. I mean, I must have about 100 group chats. And I think if everybody kind of know what they have to do, you know, you have less problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, when people don't know where the water hose is, there'll be more fires. You know, but if they're really solving the problem, then I'm okay. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I just say, oh, by the way, what happened is this, you know. So I think to answer your question, I have Blackbird, I have Timbre Group. Obviously, that's my main job. But I also have Team Rise, which is I teach at SMU Academy.
Yeah.
You know, I teach at least once a month actually at SMU Academy, and I teach leadership and resilience, self-awareness,
Yeah.
culture change, and things like that. So I keep myself very busy, but I'm very happy actually. I'm very happy.
I sat in a
The whole
talk
thing.
that you did when I was at SMU. It was like a itinerant kind of thing, and like it was for a class that I was doing arts and culture management or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything from the talk, but I just remember that you came in and gave the talk.
I did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It was with.
Oh, I'm glad you remembered me.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it was the timber thing, and then we always go to drink at your restaurant. So I was like, hey, that's
Yeah.
that dude. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think really to answer your question simply is have a strong core team.
Okay.
Make sure you have a good system.
Delegate
Make sure
to the
that
core team.
yeah, strong core team and a good system. Make sure you know your hierarchy and your systems work. Really, it's about firefighting sometimes
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, as a CEO. But if your team is strong, I mean, there's less fires to fight.
I mean, just now you mentioned that you like sometimes lecture at SMU, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I was wondering if there were, I mean, you work with like young people, and like probably some of them might be interested in the arts and culture as well. Do they go up to you as like a mentor? Or, like, do they ask you questions about the art scene and like just questions?
So,
in
so to
general?
be clear, I teach at SMU Academy.
Academy.
And it's really more mid-management to the C-suite. But
Okay.
I do talk a lot
Okay.
at the SMU also, and
Yeah.
also other like NUS. Next month I'm actually speaking at one of their classes too, and I always ask the question: it's either about arts and culture or entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And sometimes I think maybe when I was growing up as a loner, I've developed two personalities lah. Half of my personality is arts and culture, and the other half is business and entrepreneurship. Right?
Okay.
Because you know, being a creative person,
Yeah.
as the cliche and the stereotype is, creative people don't really know how to be a businessman. I think I want to be one of those people that prove it wrong. Lah. But I have to switch, you know.
Yeah.
I joke with my team. I actually bought 2 pair of new glasses. This is one of the new pairs.
Okay.
I have another one that is a little bit more heavier and a black, you know, so that when I go for serious meetings, I wear that one.
Okay.
This one, when I play on stage, I wear this one. I'm here at Mothership, so I wear the cooler one.
Yeah, I'm glad you wore this one.
Yeah, I
today.
know. But the point is that I know I have to switch, right?
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about arts and culture with young people, they want to know whether they can make a career out of it. The first question they always ask: how do you actually survive? How do you make
Yeah.
money out of it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very much involved with the education process. I mean, I'm also a board member of SOTA, right? I get involved with LaSalle. So that conversation is a serious one because you don't want them to then go in blindly.
Yeah.
But I always tell them, if you're an arts and culture person, please understand the fundamentals of business. Please understand your profit and loss, your
Yeah.
marketing campaign. Please understand those things because it is a business.
Yeah.
Someone's paying you to perform, not just perform. You need to know, okay, am I attracting the right customers? Am I can I help the venue get more people in? Do I then develop my social media presence to help the venue?
Yeah.
These are very important questions to the arts and culture side,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because if they're just going to kind of turn up for the gig and get paid and then go back, it doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah. What I find really interesting is that you have these two sides of you: the music side, where you pursued music, right? Classically, something that Singaporeans, not that many people pursuing that line of work. Then you've got F&B.
And placemaking.
Yeah, and placemaking. But like, I mean, especially the F&B side, so many F&B people trying to get into F&B in Singapore. Both hard, but I'm wondering, what do you think is harder to make it? What is harder to be successful in, music or F&B in Singapore?
both,
Yeah.
both. For F&B, it's a tough time now. It's a tough time now. I mean,
Yeah.
the consumer behavior has changed. So I give you an example. Less people are going out late. You know, in the maybe 10, 20 years ago, people would go out 3 or 4 o'clock in the night in the morning. I mean,
Yeah.
down to the morning. These days, people go back at 10:30, 11. Younger people are not really going out as much, I think. Late,
Yeah.
for parties. In the old days, we have so many clubs and dance clubs, it's spot for choice, really. You can go to Orchard, you can go to Chimes, you can go to Clarke Quay, you
Yeah.
can go to so many places for a party, but less of that. And it's also partly because of technology,
Yeah.
because everybody has a device, and a lot of the entertainment comes from the device. So with that change, you got to kind of restructure, rethink, transform your business to suit the conditions lah.
Yeah.
It's also very expensive to get a cab late, and that's also another reason.
Yeah.
In my time, we used to share a cab. It would be $25.
Okay.
One would be Bedok, one Tampines, one Pasir Ris. Hey, uncle, San
Yeah.
Ketipang, 3 places.
Yeah.
Those days are also, I mean, Grab has that function, but it's still very
It's
expensive.
quite.
Yeah.
So I think with all those changes, that's why we're talking to agencies and with the government also. How do we actually help vibrancy of our nightlife? Now that's F&B, so it's
Yeah.
difficult. Higher costs, manpower cost has gone up. Sometimes rental has gone up. So everything has gone up, but prices don't really go up as much as to match the increase. For arts and culture, same thing. Where do you play?
Yeah.
You have less places to perform now. Timbre is one, Blackbird is another, and there's some places in Clarke Quay, for example. But I think it's less and less places. But there is increase in Mando pop places. So there's always just changes you have to kind of look and observe. There's also an increase in karaoke places. People are going back to karaoke. Somehow that's quite hot now.
Yeah.
So I think things are hot every year, changes. So you have to really be very observant to look at it, and then kind of do a business model canvas or a SWOT, and say, am I still relevant right now? And the art side is very much more emotional, right? Yeah, we can try. Come on, let's not give up. The business side is that, does it make sense?
Okay.
How many months of losses you want to go?
Yeah.
Because those are real numbers, right? You can't be emotional about those numbers.
Yeah.
Yet you cannot be totally cold. So I'm a very unique individual. I have both.
Okay.
And I try my best to be objective as best as I can.
Yeah.
When I advise young people, I tell them the truth. Have you done your P&L? Have you done a realistic P&L? Have you done a break-even point? Have you done a worse and a ideal? And then have you really looked at every line items? Opening a restaurant is not simply just to open.
Yeah.
You really, really need to calculate everything.
You've spoken a bit about your experiences meeting BB King, and I think you've met like other legends. Your WhatsApp photo is you and Led
Robert
Zeppelin's Robert Plant.
Plant.
Wow.
Yeah, so can you tell us a bit about that? Regale us with some stories of the legends that you've met.
I mean, Robert Plant is the rock god lah.
Yeah.
Without Robert
How do you get
Plant-
into these situations where you're meeting them?
So we used to have an event called Timbre Rock and Roots. We have 2 big events.
Okay.
We actually run one of them. We still do. Beer Fest Asia is also organized by Timbre, co-organized by Timbre.
Yeah.
That's be going on for 14 years, I believe. Last year was the 14th. I think so, yeah. And then we had a concept called Timbre Rock and Roots.
Yeah.
So Timbre Rock and Roots is basically a music festival. A lot of legends, also new artists. So we had featured John Legend. We had featured Buena Vista Social Club. Who else? Bob Dylan.
Yeah, wow.
Paul Simon. And Bonnie Raitt. The Destiny
How short
Trucks.
is Paul Simon?
Huh?
How short is Paul Simon?
I think shorter than both of us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good
but
to know.
he's a very, very nice guy.
Yeah.
Very, very shy. Very shy. Most of these artists are very shy.
Yeah.
Actually, most of them are introverts. Very, very
Yeah.
weird. They're introverts, but when they go on stage, wow,
Different person.
it comes out.
Yeah.
So Robert Plant was, of course, a dream of mine. I love Led Zepplin.
Yeah.
And we had the opportunity to feature him. Our partners actually is the Blues Fest at Byron Bay.
Yeah.
So we brought him for that 1 year. I was so lucky. I got to spend about 2 days with him.
Oh wow.
Two
Okay.
whole
I,
days?
huh?
2 whole days?
Not whole, but a couple of hours each day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Enough already, man. I don't know what else to say to him because he's, But anyway, the day one, I had to organize a rehearsal for his band.
Yeah.
So I was there with him. He said, hey, can I just hang out. So we hang out at the rehearsal studio.
Was he down to earth?
Huh?
Was he
very,
down to
very
earth?
down to earth. Very down to earth. Very quirky.
Yeah.
Very eccentric. Then day two, I managed to sit down with him at the interview that I did with him, still on YouTube,
Yeah.
right, for Timbre. And I did an interview with him. We were supposed to only do 20 minutes. We started talking for 40 minutes.
Wow.
But the story about Robert Plant is very interesting. In the 70s, Led Zeppelin came to Singapore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were refused entry
Yeah.
because of their long hair.
Oh,
Those days, it was a
wow.
bit more conservative.
Okay.
So his first question to me is that, Danny, I wasn't sure if I could get through immigration. Then I also had my pills. That's it. Robert, what pills you talking about? No, medical pills.
Yeah.
Right? Then he said, but you know what he said to me? He said, I was a bit nervous, but it was the easiest immigration
Yeah.
experience I've ever had. And it was the fastest
Yeah.
at the airport. And he was really surprised because the previous experience, he was refused entry.
Yeah. Yeah. Famously.
And so I spent a lovely, lovely time with him. And we did the most English thing we can think about. We had tea.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And he shared with me certain things I can't share here, but about Led Zeppelin. But I did tell him
The
we
inside
really hope,
goss.
huh?
The inside goss on Led
A
Zeppelin.
little bit. But he said, I told him, I said, I really hope that you guys can reunite while you're still alive. I didn't say that, but I said reunite
Yeah.
and do a tour. Find a drummer, I know that's hard, but find a drummer that can play.
Yeah.
The 3 surviving
Yeah.
members. He'll sell
While
out.
they're still around. Yeah.
But it's not about the money for him, So, it's a very, very interesting.
Did you ask him about the backward message in Stairway to Heaven? If he's a Satan worshipper or
No, I didn't ask
no,
that
it was a
question. I
sensitive
didn't answer the
topic.
question.
Sensitive topic.
But I grew up hearing about it all the time in
Yeah,
church.
yeah. Me too, honestly. Okay, so now we're going to get to the questions that you guys submitted to us. But if you are watching at home, if you have a dilemma that you're dealing with, if you have something that weighs heavy on your chest, you can write into us at the link that is on your screen right now. You can find that same link in the show description. Write to us there, and who knows, you might get someone as creative and entrepreneurial as Danny to answer your question. Okay, Pris, take us away. Give us the question from Dara.
Okay, so the first question, Dara is asking, I can't decide what I want to do despite changing so many roles and I'm still not satisfied. What should I do? So I think Dara is at a point in her career where she's trying many different roles but still not satisfied. So what
And Dara,
advice?
is
Yeah.
it her name is Dara?
Dara, yeah,
Dara.
Could be a guy or girl. I don't know,
yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Guy, girl,
Dara.
Okay.
Dara. Yeah.
No, I think it's part of everyone's journey to go through different phases, right? I mean, I was in film studies, became a full-time musician, then became an event manager, management, and then of course I became, while doing a band, and then eventually Timbre. And then Timbre has also changed from a bar, restaurant to a food park, and we also run hawker centers. So I think, change is gonna come because the environment, is always changing. And for her or him, I'm not sure. I mean, is this person talking about a role in the company, or is it marketing, maybe HR? But I would say that sometimes it takes time for you to really know what you really want to do.
Okay.
And actually, every part of your journey actually helps to get there too. I've learned so much as a musician, as a band leader, and event manager, to then bring me to the next phase, run a place, and then eventually run a food park, dealing with tenants and sponsors and things like that. So I don't think there is any part of our journey that is wasted. It's just how you learn and what you learn from it, and then eventually you can apply on some of those things also in your new role.
Yeah.
So I it's a no fixed answer to be honest. I think every part of that journey needs to be looked at seriously, and you try to find the joy in doing the work.
Yeah.
But of course, if you're unhappy doing the work, really draggy, it could be that you don't like your boss also, So it's hard to answer that question. But I
Yeah.
think at some point, take a step back, we teach this in our class or self-awareness, and I mean I highly encourage people to do Strength Finder, which is a test, and any of these kind of tests, because you actually find out a bit more about yourself.
Okay.
And once you know about yourself, then you can also think what kind of job that suits that kind of personality. You know, sometimes when we go into this, you think it's fashionable.
Yeah.
Fashionable to be in social media, fashionable to do something else. But it's fashionable. But are you really equipped to do that? Or do you have the personality to
Yeah.
develop to do it?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of self-awareness comes into play. Yeah. So that's actually the starting point.
Yeah. You have many roles and many hats in your work and in your career. What do you find the most satisfying?
Oh, playing music.
Okay.
When I play music, I'm in full control of what I do.
Yeah.
you
How about
know.
the entrepreneurial stuff? Not satisfying for you?
Satisfying, but being an entrepreneur, one of the headaches you ask entrepreneurs, most of them will tell you is dealing with people,
Okay.
Okay.
and people are not predictable. People are not you can't just control people,
Yeah.
right? So it's a lot of careful maneuvering of this, dealing with people, working with people.
Yeah.
So it's not always fun. But like I said from the start, you know, if you're a bit more self-aware, then I think it's easier, right? Then you're also more. You're also dealing with people and you're actually encouraging them to be more self-aware. So 2 years ago, when we came out of COVID,
Yeah.
that's what we did with our core team. We did a test. We even did peer-to-peer assessments.
Yeah.
We even did all that, and we even did sessions and workshops to then let people know, like, what is your role in this department, what is their role, and appreciate each other a little bit more, and instead of working in silos.
Okay.
So so I think, to answer your question, you're dealing with 8 core team leaders,
Yeah.
maybe we have about 70 staff in total.
Yes. Okay.
Employees, I mean. You know, you're dealing with people, and it's unpredictable, right?
Yeah.
You know the famous saying, you deal with things that you can control
Yeah.
more than you can't control, right?
Yeah.
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 So that's the challenge actually of a leader.
Yeah. I think the question about satisfaction for like young people, I think is like, especially in work, is something that a lot of young people are like looking for.
Yeah.
Was that something that you were, thinking about when you were starting out your career? You want to do something that you really find purposeful in, or there's another mindset where it's just find a job and that pays well and it's not so important that you're really passionate about it.
I mean, if we are all so lucky, we will find jobs that we all love and passionate about, right? I mean, but I guess it doesn't happen to everyone.
Okay.
Sometimes, there are people who just want to do functional work, and some of them want to do creative work.
Yeah.
But I will throw this more as maybe something that you could also relate to, because you lived in Australia, you go back to Australia. I think for young people, to be very honest, go to uncomfortable places.
Because that's where you grow.
Because I was in Perth, and as I mentioned, there was a right-wing politics at that time.
Yeah.
But I tell you honestly, I'm very thankful I went through that, because when I'm in class and it's like 80% white Australians, 20-30% Asian international students, I have to speak louder.
Right.
I had to. I remembered one of my classmates at that time, and by the way, I have a lot of great Australian friends too. I'm not trying to paint a picture that way, but
Yeah.
she told me, said, "Hey, why do you come to Murdoch?" One of the Australian girls, or my friends of mine, asked me, say, "Oh, I want to, experience a different culture. I want to learn new things." Then she said this to me. She said, "But you're taking a place of Australian now.
Wow.
It's uncomfortable
Yeah.
being told that,
Yeah.
I took a place of an Australian. But I looking back, I love that experience.
Yeah.
The fact that I was put on the spot. So every young person should actually just get into a situation is a little bit uncomfortable. Then it builds a resilience, you see. I mean, it builds that kind of grit that you need to survive in this very, very difficult world.
Yeah.
Especially now, with everything's going on, things are changing super fast. What's happening in the West and also in the East, it's happening very fast, and things are going to change very fast. Technology is going to change, AI is going to change the world, etc., etc. But one thing that actually stays with you is your idea of resilience and grit.
Yeah.
In any change and weather, you know
That helps you
how
be
to dress up.
adaptable.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Okay, shall we move on to
Yeah.
the next question? So this question comes from a viewer named Sarah. It's really long, but I'll try and
Sure.
truncate it. She writes simply, I hate my job. I am a civil servant and I am bonded to my job for another 3 years. She talks about her salary, which she finds to be terrible. Less than 2,400 take home for working almost 48 hours per week. She finds that the people at her work try to manipulate her to find the job meaningful and fulfilling, when in reality we're severely underpaid and overworked. She speaks a bit about, if my role is truly special and valuable, then shouldn't be remunerated way more. This makes no sense. Why speak so highly of a job that doesn't even pay close to what's considered well? And then she goes on to say, all in all, Singapore defines success in ways that is so minuscule. There is no room for creativity and art. Clearly, I am sick of taking the safe, secure option. Absolutely a sad way to live and pass on. Yes. So Sarah,
Wow.
Sarah seems like she's in a dark place.
No. I can relate, man. I mean,
Okay.
I can relate. I mean, I was a musician, like as I say, family of accountants, lawyers, doctors. I can relate. On that level, I can relate. That what kind of job am I holding? I mean, really want to be a musician?
Yeah.
But I mean, my response to that, I'm sorry that Sarah is going through that. It sounds like she's in a very unhappy place for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not a psychologist or counselor, but I have a lot of friends who are in psychology, who are psychologists and therapists. Sometimes it's good to seek help.
Okay.
Even for me, I have seeked help. Talking to therapists. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. On that level, because if you're unhappy or for example, I'm not saying she is, but if you're going through depression, you really need to talk to someone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one. Second level is find a mentor.
Okay.
Find somebody that you admire. Nothing wrong saying hello, hi, can I have a coffee with you? And mentorship is so important. I mean, I support mentoring all the way.
Yeah.
Because when you have someone, for example, I have a few mentees myself. My company, Timbre, we actually handle this coaching and mentoring.
Okay.
But mentors are good because they give you a bit of that encouragement, but also the realities, right?
Yeah.
And also guide you. What should you do then?
Yeah.
Maybe you should think about reskilling, maybe. I don't want to use these big words lah. I'm not from the government, but it's not, maybe I'll change it. Maybe think of another opportunity,
Okay.
Yeah.
go out there.
Yeah.
And mentoring is so important. The third thing I would say is support system.
Okay.
And I'm not answering directly, I'm just saying that you should have a strategy to deal with an unhappy situation.
Yeah.
And a support system means to say, really, really have a group of friends and share this with them.
Yeah.
Let them know that this is how you're feeling. There's a lot of people, men especially, I would say women tend to have coffees and teas with their girlfriends a lot more.
Yeah.
And share these vulnerabilities of life. But men especially don't say anything.
Yeah.
And they will always end up, 60 years old, very depressed, and then in a coffee shop drinking tiger beer.
Yeah.
So support system. So I think I highly encourage Sarah to actually think of these three things. And I think dealing with the work choices actually might stem from the already things that she's probably feeling
Okay.
on the inside.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you make of like her, her assertion that that the ways to define success in Singapore is so minuscule?
I mean, this is a continuing work in progress, right?
Yeah.
Now, you look at secondary 4, primary 6, they are changing the format.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm involved with SOTA. I'm also involved with Budok View. And we talk about this all the time, like not only the fact that too many kids have too much screen time, but also because exams and all, how do we apply learning to
Yeah.
them, right?
Yeah.
So she is not wrong to say that we appreciate things maybe by paper qualification,
Right.
maybe a bit too much.
Yeah.
And I think, the ministry is really trying to change things with that.
Yeah.
I think it takes some time to completely change, the way we think about what success really means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20 years ago, success would mean that you have a degree. When you have a degree, wow, everybody celebrate what got a degree. Nowadays, degree, everybody have degree.
Yeah.
So, the definition of success is changing all the time.
Hmm.
But for her, like I said, how she's definitely going through a very challenging time.
Yeah.
And sometimes seeking help really brings you to a safer place,
Yeah.
you know. And if you keep it to yourself, which I hope she doesn't, then it's going to be a lot worse, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are avenues of help, There I've been mentoring SG is one of them.
Yeah.
Go and seek some help. Talk to someone.
Yeah, yeah. I think really good advice for anyone who's facing anything hard that it's not. You shouldn't be afraid to seek professional help for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to ask you one last thing about something that she said. Right, there's no room for creativity and art clearly in Singapore. What do you make of that? Because I think it's. Would it be fair to say that our arts and culture scene in Singapore is not as vibrant as it could be?
I think, personally, this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that we have a lot of hardware, meaning to say venues,
Okay.
I mean world-class venues. We have a lot of activities, arts in PA and NAC and busking and things like that. But the challenge I think we will face is how do you quantify the value of arts,
Yes.
especially when it's a bit more commercial.
Yeah.
For example, some countries would have cover charge, or ticketing.
Yeah.
Well, even if you're going to watch a band,
Yeah.
you pay in America it happens, $10, $20, and it doesn't even come with a drink. You're just paying entry,
Yeah.
right? So we don't actually have that, that format lah.
Yeah.
Most things are free here.
Yeah.
So I think this is talked about so many times.
Yeah.
I mean, the change of mindset is what is free, okay. Maybe it's really for a while, but eventually it has to be there needs to be a business plan. How do you actually commercialize your art, right? And I know it sounds like a dirty word, but it's not. Art is a professional career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like not for profit. Is really developing a branding for yourself. A good example would be Ben King, who happened to play at Timbre also when he was very young. Ben King
Yeah.
from St. Willows, and he has branded himself as MC, he hosts, he sings, he does branding,
Yeah.
he does social media. So he's an example of someone
Yeah.
that had a business plan, or at least a good manager. So you know what I mean. So it's not impossible.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you are just purely arts and culture and don't think about the business side,
Yeah.
then you really, really have some issues, because then are you always going to apply for grants? I do art because I have a grant. No,
Yeah.
you can't do that.
Do you
I
think
think
Singapore will get to a place where you can just be an arts and culture person?
As long as I'm around and I advocate this, I hope other people advocate it too. I think we will have to then be have honest conversations and tell them that it's an industry. Arts and culture is not hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is what we always talk about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When I tell people I'm a musician when during Chinese New Year that just passed, in the old days, now they know me because they know I have timbre and everything. But when I was just starting out, hobby. Oh, for fun only just jamming
Yeah.
Oh, you band boy in the old days they say band boy.
Yeah.
And it's, at the beginning you say, oh, okay lor, haha, yeah. But after a while you say, wow, I always think that I like do it for free or no money. And then when I tell my friends or loved ones, sometimes they say, hey, actually they pay me a fee to play. They pay you They pay you to play guitar. So that is the problem.
Yeah.
You have to quantify, you have to put a value sometimes to art that is good.
Okay.
Right.
And then encourage them, buy their merchandise, buy a ticket to watch them play. Maybe even give them an ang pao or whatever ways to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't always say, oh, I don't have to pay you. I don't. It's not my business, right? It's not just a hobby for some. It is actually a lifelong career for some. I mean, me is one example.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
one example of it.
And I mean to like commercialize your art or like at least put yourself out there to make yourself, viable in the economy, you need to kind of have like a unique selling point to you.
Yes.
In a sense, I mean, like, I figure, yeah. So I think a lot, I mean, like, reading the prompts and, I mean, the responses that they're giving, I find that, like, they don't really know what their strengths are, or like what they can sell themselves for. So, like, I was wondering, how do you actually find what what's so special about you, and like how do you sell that? Because I mean, being a creative, like, there's so many things that you can do, but like, how do you leverage on what you're good at, or like how do you even find out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's so special about me? I like that question. It's big. I don't know how to really answer this, but I think that you're right to say USP. I think that all arts and culture people, Sota, LaSalle, all of them will have to have a real workshop with an entrepreneur who has fallen down, lost money, make back the money. I think that lesson doesn't have to be an arts business. It could be F&B, because F&B is equally hard. F&B is equally hard.
Yeah.
But at least F&B, you sell your food, you're going to get paid, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's exactly what I'm trying to say. I give you my rock roasted up pizza, you're going to pay what's the price, right?
Yes.
For arts, not as clear, right? So that's one problem. The other one that you just mentioned is correct. Every arts and creative person has to go through some fundamental business workshop and learn from a mentor, learn from someone about the fundamentals. What's your USP? What's your business model? How do you actually do a P&L? And not a P&L like it's a fluffy one, Not a fluffy one, A real P&L,
Okay.
like real numbers, so you know exactly how much you potentially can make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So I learned it through the hard way, Pris. I learned it through the hard way. I failed before, and I learned from it, and I just keep on trying to improve myself. But seriously, they all have to go through a business class, and I'm actually doing something, hopefully for ex-offenders too. I do volunteer at one of these organizations, Architects of Life, and we're going to do something also precisely because of this.
Right.
Because ex-offenders that come out, they usually want to start their own business because there's a stigma of hiring them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we are also coming up with a course to train them about the fundamentals of entrepreneurship. Once they know that, then
Yeah.
then they understand like what you say, what's your USP,
Okay. Yeah.
what's your business model. Because they don't know,
Yeah.
they're just guessing. Once you have a real focus, and all arts institutes should do this, all like Yellow Ribbon and all this should do a real serious business class. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I don't know if you guys heard that about my stomach. I don't know if the
Yeah.
mic's got that, but my stomach kept rumbling.
Are you okay?
I think that's because he was talking about the duck pizza.
Oh, yeah, then maybe
But I
it
think it
got you,
also
like-
means that that's all the time that we have.
I can get one
today.
delivered to you.
Yo,
Ooh.
mate. We'll talk after. We'll talk after. Hey, but thank you so much for joining us today, Danny. For being so candid with your stories and your advice. Do you have anything that you want to
Yeah, I
advertise?
I appreciate everybody at Mothership. It's great. I will say this lah. We've been somehow became a very personal podcast for me.
Yeah, okay.
I great questions. I really appreciate it. I never really talk about my personal thing. If you look at all my interviews, I don't really go into it. But I think it was good that I shared.
Yeah,
some
thank you.
parts of
Thank
it,
you so much.
And with you guys. So
Yes.
thanks for having me.
Okay, we'll catch you guys in the next episode. See you guys. Bye.